And Ramona Shelburne. Unfortunately for the rest of the league, the Lakers' championship hangover only lasted for one game. The champs had 2 blowout wins this weekend. They beat the Mavs by 23 on Christmas Day. And then the 36-point win against the Timberwolves with Anthony Davis resting a calf strain on the first half of a back-to-back last night. So, Ramona, what impressed you the most about the Lakers this weekend?
You know, I like their new guys. I like the way that Marc Gasol looked, especially last night. He just gives them such a different dimension to the way that they played last year. Like, he's such a great passer. And one of the things that LeBron James always talks about is playing with high IQ players, right? Yeah. That was why he bonded so well with Rajon Rondo last year. Marc Gasol is exactly that kind of player. And it kind of reminds me, Fizz, you tell me if I'm off base, okay? Kind of reminds me of what Kevin Love did for the Cavs when LeBron was there. Big man who could space the floor, great passer. That outlet pass last night was like unbelievable. That's something Kevin would do. And it's just a dimension they didn't have last year that I think opens up a whole other side of their offense.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I even think Marc is another level passer than even Kevin Love. Like, Marc is, he sees the game how LeBron sees the game, but he does it from the center position. And that's what I think makes him so unique for their team. So even LeBron, as we try to watch to see if he's going to age at all, watch how many easy layups and dunks he gets, so his numbers won't look like he's aging at all, because Marc is going to be able to get him easy baskets. Schroeder is going to be able to get him easy baskets, and we got to see that over the course of these games. I think the other thing that really impressed me about them was how they played without AD, and I think that's something that, you know, when I watched the Clippers without Kawhi, watching them without AD, that's going to be the tale of these teams, because somebody's always going to lose a stud. Can they keep the train rolling without that guy? And the Lakers showed that it is important to them to try to win it again. They were disappointed with that one loss, but they came back with a fury over the next 2 games. And I think we saw a picture of what they're going to be all year.
I mean, Marc Gasol in the high post, Fizz, you and I talked about this just last week. I mean, he is unstoppable from there. Like, his vision, his court vision is great. He can play quarterback, honestly. Like, he can fit the ball in such tight windows. There's no doubt about that. And, you know, I'm glad you brought up the thing about LeBron.
7-foot quarterback.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
The thing about LeBron, there's this notion that, well, LeBron needs the ball in his hands and playing with another playmaker is a deterrent. On the contrary, if you look at LeBron's career, even when he was younger, when he had another playmaker around him to make life easier for him, he excelled. You know, whether it was Dwayne Wade, Kyrie Irving, you name it. There's a lot of guys there that move the ball to help him as well. He's obviously as unbelievable a passer as we've ever seen play the game. Him and Magic Johnson are in that conversation. But he certainly benefits from having those kind of guys.
Yeah, you look at, like, Dwayne used to get you know, link the court stuff when young LeBron wanted to outrun everybody. Now in the half court, Marc is going to be able to get them back cuts, you know, little easy spin outs and things like that that only a Marc Gasol or a Jokic type player can make. Those are the only kind of guys that can make those passes. And the way that Frank runs his offense, where he really gets the other guys to commit to moving without the ball, everything is with energy. Marc Gasol is going to make them so hard to beat as they move forward.
Yeah, and it has unlocked Kyle Kuzma, as we've talked about. Ramona, Kuzma's played well with Marc Gasol out there on the floor. Like, he just signed a new extension, and I think that this is it. Look, if he starts performing like we've seen here in the last game or two, then all of a sudden that thing looks like a steal, doesn't it?
I mean, I thought the contract itself looked like a steal when it was, you know, 3 years, $40 million. I mean, I think he had visions of, you know, 60, 70 million, okay, when they were first talking. So for them to get him at that price, and it also takes away, I think, a lot of the drama around Kyle Kuzma, which was going to be a storyline and a sense of and a pressure for him and the Lakers all year long, because if they didn't do that extension, he was going to be eligible for restricted free agency. Obviously, there's always tension with him because he sees himself as a starter. Last night he got to start. Okay, he was the guy who went into the starting lineup, and I thought he looked great. He always plays great when he starts because he's got something to prove. But now you can relax a little bit. He got paid. It may not have been as big as what he wanted, but he still is getting $40 million the next 3 years. And I think for Kuz, it lets him settle into whatever role he's going to carve out for himself without every single game being a referendum on, are they going to give him a contract? Is he worth it? How much is he worth?
Right.
All right, another team that turned things around this weekend, the Warriors. Steph Curry led a late comeback.
the person that you've known before is never coming back. Like that person died when his mom died. I mean, that was just, he's really going through some stuff.
Yep.
And I don't know how to help or any of us know what to say to Carl if you see him or something, but he's obviously going through a really hard time in his life. And, we know all of the relatives he's lost to COVID-19. And so now, basketball, we always like to say this thing, like basketball is a refuge, right? You're supposed to, escape your issues, your problems, and now he doesn't get to do that. But I like that he corrected people. Don't assume you know how somebody's feeling, right? Where he says, yeah, no, I'm still thinking about it when I'm playing basketball. I know it affects the Wolves, but I'm just more concerned for Carl because I can just tell the man's heart is real heavy.
Yeah, it's just really a tough situation seeing him now get injured and having to push reset again on the season. I had, last year with the Knicks, I had 3 guys lose a relative within a 2-week span. And I understand what Coach Saunders the role he has to play in trying to be there for him and really trying to galvanize the team around him. And at the same time, not putting too much on him where he's always thinking about it. Just trying to create that environment where he can escape for a little bit. But at the same time, you never get away. When you lose loved ones like he did, there's just no way. And to hear what he said, like Ramona said, it was heartbreaking to hear that. And anybody that's lost a loved one that's that close to them, in fact, multiple loved ones, I mean, it's nothing you can do to bring them back. And the memory often will just, everywhere you look, is going to hit them. And so I think the team element will be great for him. And I think Coach Saunders and the staff will really be good for him and surrounding him with a lot of love.
Heartbreaking is the exact word. Look, man, and I'm not trying to, throw shade at any other family relationship, but the bond between a child and their mother is completely different. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Than anything else and any of the other family dynamics. And when you lose your mother at that young of an age, the way you lost her, man, of course, your heart breaks for him. But to your point, Fizz, I do think Coach Saunders, who understands losing a loved one, right? He lost his father way too early. And I think that, hopefully he can help uplift him in a way. And he's already kind of an uplifting type of personality to begin with. So I do feel for Carl, as Ramona said, going through such difficult times. And then you add this layer to it. It only makes it even more challenging. So all the best, obviously, to Karl Anthony Towns. Mm-hmm. All right, coming up next, time loss to the Blazers in his season debut on Saturday. So, Momo, is Harden's big stat line in his debut something, nothing, or everything?
I almost want to take a page out of your book and go in between, okay? But I don't know how something and everything go together. Everything? We'll go like that. Look, we all know James Harden can ball out. Like, he is a great player, but sometimes it helps to be reminded of that. Right? We haven't seen that since the bubble. We haven't seen him play and have a game like that where they're obviously down a lot of players. It was like James versus everybody. Okay, like they didn't have and they were playing a really good team up there in Portland. And so to me, like, him showing out like that, especially coming off the issues that he had, right, where he obviously was a huge distraction to the team. It was negative press for him, negative press for the team. I've talked about this with a lot of folks around the league. Has James Harden hurt his trade value by the way that he has acted off the court? I don't think so. From my understanding, George, the offers for James are good. There are several of them. One person told me there's at least 6 teams that have made offers that are very interested in Harden. So to me, I don't think anything's hurt his trade value, but it's always good to remind people how good you are.
Absolutely. No, I think it's something as well. I think anytime you get to see that talent back on the court, and you can just see that even when he's a little distracted with all of the stuff that's going on, that's how good he is. He's still better than most players in the NBA, and he almost went up there to Portland and beat a really good Portland team. I haven't really praised Portland to the level that I should, but with Nurkic on the court, they look like a different team a lot of times. And so with James going up there and almost willing that victory, the reason I say it's something is because you are going to get Wall back and you're going to get Boogie back. And if they can get those 3 talents to play together where James is enjoying it and they are winning games, Maybe Houston can reel him back in and get him back into the fold. That's going to be a tall task, but I think that's why it's something, is because he's back on the court and those other two guys are coming back soon.
Yeah, I agree, and I would also go something. But here's the thing, not to mention, let's not forget about Christian Wood, who also balled out in that game, and the Rockets paid a nice chunk of change to bring him to that roster. I think that that's a kid also that you have to look at. I know a lot of executives perhaps looked at him and said, well, he's putting up big numbers on bad teams or whatever, but this kid can play, legitimately can play, and I think he can help that team. And I don't know, Momo, what do you think? Is there any chance that Houston could reel him back in, or is that ship sailed?
I'm never going to say never, okay? Right. Because I firsthand covered a team like that here in Los Angeles when Kobe Bryant wanted to be traded to literally anywhere but the Lakers back in 2007. I mean, he was, trade me to Pluto. I think that was the line that he used. So it has happened in the past. I don't think it's going to happen here. I think James wants to be traded. I think that's very clear. And I think all this does is remind his suitors, who, by the way, there are already, I'll say it again, at least 6 teams that I know have inquired about him. I think they already want him. It's about negotiating right now. And somebody very close to the situation told me last night, like, let's see what this does to the offers over the next week or two, and to see how they improve. Not just by one game. He has to